Good evening, everybody. How's it going? It's me, Comic Crack. Let's just jump right into it before we get to the books. I was watching this guy. His name is Wyatt. He's got a really good channel if you're into kind of extreme music and noise music and metal and all those kind of things. Always a great guy to listen to. He's put out his top 25 albums of 2024. And I had a look at that and put a couple of things on my wish list over at Bandcamp. An Axis of Perdition, Ungfell, Mamalik, and then this band called Knoll. So I was listening to this Knoll today. Holy shit, man. It's relentless and I don't know if it's bleak necessarily. Oh, wait a sec. Look at that. Look what I did there. Sorry, 1 second. So you've been staring at Wyatt, and I meant to take you to the other page. Hold on a second here. I always forget how this thing works. So this is the this is my Bandcamp page. So I put a couple things on my wish list. So this is that Axis of Perdition. This is that Ungfell. This is that Mamalik album, which I listened to, sampled a couple of tracks. My son has played it for me before on our radio show, and it's a wild album from the track that he played on the show and just kind of the samples that I did here. They've been around for a long time. This one is they're you know, I guess they've started sort of as a black metal-ish type band and sort of had this almost jazz infusion that's just gotten more and more till it's almost taken over. Very interesting arc. So the one that I listened to today is this band called Knoll. It's going to open on another tab. Let's see if I can show you this one, because this is a hell of... Lefty, how you doing, Lefty? This is a hell of an album, man, as spoken by Knoll. So if you're not into... I mean, all these genre tags are just always so entertaining to me. Funeral grind. So they have kind of like this black metal-ish kind of relentless nature to their music, but his there's definitely a grindcore element in kind of his vocals, and very doomy. It's pretty fucking good, man. But like I said, it's relentless and pretty bleak, which will go good with the first book we're going to talk about tonight. So maybe you want to listen to Knoll as you're reading The Road, which we'll talk about in a minute. So it's been a good week. I cannot read French. No, sir, I cannot. Where is I? Yeah, I'm getting right here. So last thing about some music. One of the things, it was Bandcamp Friday, and I couldn't really afford to get too much, but I did get the digital version of this Beyond the Black Rainbow. Harry Nordlinger had commented on Beyond the Black Rainbow on his Twitter, so that's what was putting it forward in my brain. I love the soundtrack. I love the movie. It's unbelievable. Mandy is a great movie. Don't get me wrong. I think Beyond the Black Rainbow blows it out of the water. Beyond the Black Rainbow is a fucking trip. So the soundtrack is incredible. And what I didn't realize until buying it was that it's done by a guy who's part of this Canadian rock band called Black Mountain. When Black Mountain's first album came out, I don't know, 20 years ago at this point, 15 to 20 years ago at this point, I saw them live at a small club here called the Royal Albert Arms. And I was blown away by it. The people that I went with didn't care for it at all. My wife at the time, and then a couple of friends of ours, they just weren't into it. Totally fine. They were wrong. It was amazing. They're really, really good. They sort of channel this 70s type of hard rock, but they have these kind of psychedelic and stoner rocky kind of vibes to them. Fucking amazing band. So one of the guys associated with that band is who did this Beyond the Black Rainbow soundtrack, which was news to me. So that was a good one to pick up, just the digital, but it was still pretty great. So what did we read this week? I just finished reading it before going live here. I picked it up and started looking through it, and kind of couldn't put it down. Jesus, Jumpin' Murphy. Like, I know that it's a bleak story. I have never read Cormac McCarthy's The Road, but I do know about it. I haven't seen the movie. I think there's a movie about it, right? I haven't seen the movie either. This is the first time I'm reading anything drawn by Manu Larsenet, a graphic novel adaptation, but it's a stunner. I'm going to take this dust jacket off just because it's always a little difficult to deal with that. Man, oh man, I got to say, this is, again, no surprise at the bleakness of it. I mean, this is what the first page is of the book. But I think the thing that did surprise me is some of the stunning artwork in this. It's really gorgeous. And there's these moments on pages that early on, there's a lot of looking at landscapes and we're looking at our characters. And there's a page, maybe it's not too early on then. There is a page here that I really, this one here. I love this page. This really does a good job at kind of playing with perspective all through it. And then you even get to a moment like this where it's just a boot on the road, but it becomes kind of part of this desolate landscape. And I like that idea of seeing things like really wide and then seeing things like really close up. And no matter where you look, it's just bleak and destroyed and kind of horrific. But then there's details of this father and son, some of the detailed art when they go close up, especially on fabrics and things. It does a really nice job of kind of popping off the page. So it's almost like there's this wash across all of the landscapes. And then there's this pop of detail with our human characters, even when we come across the bad guys or potentially other good guys. There's also really nice detail on the corpses and that too. The skulls and things that are littering the landscape. But I mean, look at this panel here of this old market. So good. So good. Not a happy story. Not a fun story by any stretch. It has, like, maybe a moment of, okay, a little bit of a reprieve, but it's really about their relationship and not straying from the road and kind of walking towards something just south. They're just walking south. We've got to keep walking south. There was another really good page with them traveling. Yeah, I mean, it's almost, at times, it almost has a Raphael Grandpa kind of quality to it. There's something about the line work there that reminds me of his stuff a little bit. Hopefully that's coming across okay. There's a lot of good moments, and I think I'm heightened. My awareness is heightened of kind of comic storytelling based on this that we'll talk about. Maybe we'll talk about it after this big tome called Sunday by Olivier Schroen. I'm hyper focused on comic storytelling and the layout of panels and how a page works. Damn, of course I should have marked it. Is it fun hearing me say that every single fucking stream? I should have marked it, and then I just never even listened to my own. Here we go. So even simplicity of things like this, just showing the passage of time within one page. So yeah, just the top one where they look kind of put together. They've got a lot of stuff in their cart. They got a lot of stuff on their back, and then you go to that last panel, and the clothes are torn. The cart is emptying. Their backpacks are much lighter. Really nice. Not a mind-blowing trick, but those moments are so great to be able to see the passage of time on one page like that. I think is really nice. So I mean, not much more I can say about this other than thanks to Analog Comics, who had talked about this in his video, and that turned me onto it. I said it's making the mental list, and I think it was that afternoon that I found it, or the next day rather, in the bookshop, just staring at me. So I couldn't resist. So that's Cormac McCarthy's The Road. At the back, there's a letter from Manu talking to McCarthy about, listen, you've written the words. I think I can add the line work to it. I love the road for the atmosphere it creates, most likely because I enjoy drawing the snow, the chilling winds, the dark clouds, the sizzling rain. He didn't want to rewrite anything. He didn't want to change the story. He had been writing, coming off of years of writing that wore me down, and I want nothing more than to draw. For almost 6 months now, I've been reading your book again and again, almost living in it. I'm starting to see how I could tackle the challenge of following the guidelines you set without feeling trapped by them. On top of that, I've been racking my brain to avoid any reference to the movie adaptation. So really well done. Yeah, and these other books that he's done, I hope that with the release of this, I think this is the first one of his that's come out in English. I really hope that this sparks more books coming out from him soon. So this is Abrams Comic Art is who put that one out. So I guess we'll jump into this. And again, it's not one that I think I'm going to be able to talk about too much. It's not that it's a difficult one to talk about. It's just that I think that the experience of reading Sunday is a big part of the thrill of this. So I don't want to like go in and kind of reveal some things. What I will basically say is that Olivier Schroen and his cousin Thibault spoke with great displeasure about wasted days filled with procrastination, aimlessness, and boredom, in which he failed to do anything edifying. His account intrigued me and immediately seemed a suitable subject for a new graphic novel. So that's basically what it is. It's a Sunday. It happens to be the Sunday before Thibault's birthday, and his wife is on a work trip, and she's due back that night. What we do find out is some of his friends are planning a surprise visit to him, one who he hasn't seen in about 10 years. So to kind of surprise him on his birthday. And that's it. So it was originally published as 5 from Colorama, I think it was. I remember Earl Grey talking about the books because I think he ended up getting all the singles. And they were risograph printed. And this is a Fantagraphics edition that came out this year. I think it was this year anyway. Yeah, it was. Yes, that collects all those books. And while it's not risographed, the paper is great. It's got a good tooth to it. It has that feel of a risograph book. Doesn't have that distinct smell of a risographed zine or book, but apparently they stay really true. I haven't seen any of the originals in front of me, only some images online. From what I'm told they stay true to those original books. The color choices for each of the stories, and it really comes across, that texture of that risograph comes across to some degree. There's not enough texture to some of it, I feel like, but overall it feels legit. It's a fascinating story, and I think the biggest thing is we get Thibault kind of narrating throughout the entire book. Now, the narration continues when we start to see other characters as well, and it's interesting to see that narration line up with the images that you're seeing. So it does this. It's hyper focused on how comics tell stories. There's humor in it, like absurdity, some bonkers situations, of course, some dirtiness as well too. And his art style isn't something that I was immediately drawn to when I read that Parallel Lives. It was good. I enjoyed it, but it's not something that, because I remember seeing this book about a year ago, or parts of this book about a year ago, probably on Earl Grey's channel, and the art didn't really resonate with me. Another one, it's amazing when that happens and you can still get into it regardless of what that art is. And I think honestly, this style works so fucking well. He's so comfortable and familiar with his style, and he seems to be very familiar with coloring and just how to not only design the page, but I mean, look at the way the light is playing on that page is fantastic. So that takes a level of understanding that is pretty exceptional. And then his style itself, again, I was showing Rasa, we had our chat this afternoon, I was showing Rasa these pages. This blows my mind. This is looking in a steamed up mirror and then drawing your face or tracing your face in it. It's clear as day as what that is. And obviously the kind of creation of a basic icon to signify a face in comics and things, there's that layer as well too. So, but that is somebody writing on a steamed up mirror. There's no doubt about it in my mind. It's probably one of the most realistic things I've seen in a long time. It's incredible, and it's the use of the color. It's the use of the blurry image. Obviously, about what happens before this part in the book too plays a big part. So that storytelling or element, really great. And it keeps going from there. They keep kind of, as more layers get added, we start having some flashbacks as well too. We find out more about Tybalt and his life. We find out more about his friends and their lives. And yeah, I can't say enough good things about it. But like I said, I think the biggest thing is the experience of reading this book is kind of key to the whole experience. Listening to it isn't anything that I think you're going to get much out of. And that discovery of these moments, like there's moments where I'm reading through this and you just you're made hyper aware that you're reading a comic. And I do like that sometimes in films as well too. When I went to see this female comic Scorpion movie, the first two movies at our Cinematheque, the second movie blows me away so much because there's so many moments where it becomes clear that you're watching a movie. It's not always necessary to be immersed in something. For me, it's nice to be, and I can really appreciate that. But I also like being presented with a movie that is clearly a movie and is doing a thing that only movies can do. Same kind of thing with this. It feels like this is clear that it's enjoying being a comic. It's playing with the ideas of being a comic. And you're, as a reader, as longtime readers, we're pretty much aware of that experience and what goes into that experience. And some of those ideas are played with so nicely in here. Yeah, an exceptional book, man, a really exceptional book. And then there's these other moments too that I don't know if it's on purpose, but one of the main characters really looks like the Shaolin cowboy. She's had her head shaved. There's the color of her clothes. I was showing this to Rasa this afternoon as well too. Oh, and there's a special guest appearance by what I would guess is Charlemagne Palestine, this pianist, kind of minimalist pianist. I saw him live actually in a church here in Winnipeg. So he's in a church here in the book. He has this thing where he's uses a lot of stuffed animals and things for some of his photography when in his albums and stuff. And it really is a very religious experience seeing Charlemagne Palestine or experiencing that kind of music live. Like this center strip there is our character, whose name I'm forgetting right now. But that's very much a Shaolin cowboy style of dress and colors and look. So I thought that was entertaining as well. Don't know if it was on purpose or not, but I can only imagine that there's something to it there. Also looks a bit like a Buddha as well too. So, but yeah, fantastic book. I can see why people are really drawn to this. This is a hell of a read, so highly recommended. And of course, Fantagraphics does an amazing job. It's a fucking tome, but worth every minute. I didn't read it all in one sitting. I kind of tackled it kind of over the course of 3 sittings this week. But I'm glad. The last one was the meat of it. Pardon me. Let's quickly talk about these because I don't have too much to say. I won't even open this one up. This is the second to last, the penultimate issue of Grommets, issue number 6 of 7. Love this book. I think this has been an outstanding read. I'm really curious how this is going to end. Yeah, this is a great issue. Everything just kind of escalates to such a degree here before it kind of finally breaks. And in usual kind of, I know that he's not the sole writer on it, but in usual kind of Rick Remender style of writing, he managed to have these kind of crushing moments and then these really touching moments where people are kind of reconnecting and the humanity kind of comes back into it. So really good stuff. And then the last, I only read 2 kind of floppies. So the last of those is the latest from Jason Aaron in his Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle run, issue number 4. This time with Chris Burnham. And this takes us all the way back to the Free Comic Book Day Turtles story that came out. And this is what I thought I was going to get with these first 4 issues. That teaser really caught my attention. I thought it was really well done. I thought it was a really neat idea. I love Chris Burnham. So then we had to sit through 3 other issues that didn't really do much to kind of get back into the story. And Rasa and I were talking this afternoon, and she said it right. She's like, honestly, if you've read the Free Comic Book Day, that's great. You could jump into this right here on issue number 4. You really don't need issue 1, 2, and 3. I understand why he did this. I was showing her on the CLZ app this morning, or this afternoon rather. For issue number 1 of this one, there's got to be about 150 variant covers, and I am not exaggerating by that. So I get why they did each individual turtle story as one. I get it. They're trying to market. It's a very specific choice. They're looking to kind of create their own universe with the turtles, etc. I totally understand that. And I appreciate that everybody likes money to some degree. But from a storytelling point of view, those first 3 issues were shit. This is where it's at. This is a great story. And again, even with that said, I'm not going to be picking up the 5th issue. Well, I say that now. Don't quote me on it. I'm probably not going to pick up the 5th issue because as good as this one was, I don't think it's enough for me to kind of jump right in to more. I kind of like to wait a couple of issues to see what people are saying about it. And again, right now, because I usually pull mini series and stuff, I love his version of the Turtles, by the way. Really great. A lot of my pull list, my small pull list has been slashed even more. Helen is done. Grommets is going to be done in an issue. So it's not like I have a stockpile of books on my pull list. So losing my train of thought. Sorry. Anyway, this was a good issue. If this is a signifier of how it's going to go, I can see it being maybe something. But honestly, it feels just too much. Seeing that 150 variants of the first issue really got to me when I saw that. It's like, fuck. It's not like I don't expect it, but when you're met with it, it does get a little deflating participating in this kind of horse shit. I don't want to participate to that style of comics at all. I really don't. So it becomes a little deflating seeing that that's something that's out there. It's not surprising. I'm not criticizing anybody for their choices in life, but fucking hell, dude. And the last thing for tonight, So the final in Mikhail's trilogy, focusing on New York City, I think pre-financial crash. So the first one was Giant. The next book was Boot Black, and the third one is Harlem, that I finished reading today. And Giant, I've said it before, Giant is a fantastic book. I like it a lot more than Boot Black. The biggest problem that I have with Harlem is that in the inside, Mikhail makes a point of saying this story is a work of historical fiction, freely inspired by real characters, places, and events, combined with purely imagined elements. The vocabulary used by these characters is a reflection of the time in which the story takes place. And then he cites some sources of inspiration: the world of Stephanie St. Clair, who's kind of one of our main characters, an entrepreneur, race woman, and outlaw in early 20th century Harlem, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that's the thing that caused me the biggest issue, I guess, is that if you're going to use a bunch of real world characters and take influence from books about that time, why not tell a historical story? I mean, and I say that out loud, knowing full well that the way that this story is crafted, the timeline of things, for the sake of telling a good story, might be the thing that didn't line up within the history books. Or maybe there's details of the history that aren't known, and that's what he's piecing together. It really just feels like if you're going to put that much work into it, why not find a story within those books and within these characters' real experiences to tell? That said, though, it didn't take me out of the book. What I did notice was there was a few times where it kind of felt like reading a Wikipedia article. And I don't know if that's due to the translation or if that's due to the original source text. And that's kind of how it just translated. If that is the case, it's too bad they couldn't, I don't know, spice it up a little bit, because it's sort of read as really bland, of like, oh, here's W.B. Du Bois, and he was the da-da-da-da-da, and just kind of like this litany of, he was founder of the NAACP, and he wrote he wrote in a magazine, or had a magazine that was focused on Black Americans in Harlem. So the book has kind of the feel of, in the first one, kind of like the crime element was a little bit in the background, even though there was this Irish kind of terrorism underlying. It wasn't as at the forefront as I feel it started to get with Boot Black, and then really is with this one. So this is a transition period in Harlem where a bunch of cultures are kind of colliding at the same time. Our main character has the control of the kind of numbers racket, the gambling racket in Harlem. And she's also kind of, she's seen as kind of not quite a hero is a bit strong of a word, because she's still really divisive between people that live in Harlem. She's done a lot for the community, given people a lot of money to start their businesses that, of course, they have to pay her back. So there's that level of it too. She seems to at times genuinely want the best for people, but there's so many moments where it's clear that it's about the power to her. So then we're also met with a rival gangster who wants to take over Harlem for his version of this numbers racket. And then we have the mafia starting to rear its head in the background. And it's kind of, hey, it's a changing time. We have to get with the changes. Otherwise, we're going to be fucked. So great story. A real close second to Giant. I mean, like I said, the criticisms that I have, they didn't take me out of it. It didn't kind of lessen the story. It took me a little bit to kind of get into the pacing of this, but I really have enjoyed these three books. And I think as a trilogy, they work very well together. We even get a revisit from our main character in Giant near the end of this book as well too. So it led me to kind of wanting to read them again and see if there's any other things that, besides the city and besides the era, that kind of link our stories here. and obviously the crime element and things. But it really has been a trilogy of people coming to New York and trying to make a piece of it their own based on kind of their experiences, where they've come from, the communities that they're trying to grow. Yeah, it was good, man. It was really good. And it definitely started picking up even more near the end. So great stuff if you don't know this. So again, shout out to Paulo Costa for talking about this in a stream with Jared Osborne on his Friday night chat, where he was talking about the third book being out, and I wasn't aware, so I appreciate that. Yeah, it's from NBM Graphic Novels, and like I said, this Giant is such a good book. I'm looking forward to rereading this one. Actually, I'm going to try to reread it this week to see while the other one is still fresh in my head. I'm also still reading. I'm not done yet. I'm still reading BPRD. This is book 3 of the Hell on Earth. Rasa was saying today that there's 4 books. You can see how far I am into it. Not too far. It's a hard one to talk about because it's just good storytelling. It's like talking about Usagi Yojimbo. Yeah, there's going to be some moments that you can pick out and things, but I think ultimately it's just an interesting world. It's fun storytelling. There's nothing heavy in it. It's more about kind of this long form storytelling. It's like watching a TV show that's gone on for 12 seasons. It's just enjoyable. The world is enjoyable. The only thing I'll say about this volume is the first couple of stories are drawn by Lawrence Campbell. It's this storyline called Wasteland. And I'll say that so far, his art really, for me, doesn't work in this world. I love the Guy Davis and the Tyler Crook art. I like that style of storytelling for this one, for this kind of universe, I guess. I feel that this is trying a little too hard to be well, maybe not trying hard. It's just his style after all. So maybe let's rephrase that. His style is a little too realistic. I like the more watercolor, cartoony kind of style for the rest of the book. I'm not looking for realism with a story like this. I'm looking for escapism with a story like this. I'm looking for just some kind of fun stories. And the story really is picking up again. It's hard to kind of talk about specific moments. It's every single chapter is a joy to read, and it kind of just develops the story further. So I don't know when I'm finished it. I probably won't have much else to say about it other than that. So now I've just got to find book 4. And like Rasa said, I think Plague of Frogs will be next for me to try to get some of that. And dive into that part of the story. So that's it this week. It's been a bit of a rough week, so I don't really want to get into too much politic talk today. Even though there's been some real joyous events that have happened recently, there's also been a lot of crazy shit that's been going on, both in the real world politics and just in kind of personal life politics. So it's I'm a bit wiped from that, to be honest. So next week, Rasa and I will be back for a chat on this channel here. So if you're around on Sunday afternoon, come and join us. And if not, I'll see you next Sunday evening for our weekly wrap. Thanks very much, everybody. Lefty, good to see you. And we'll talk to you. Dan Elson, hello and goodbye. Later.